Hi, and welcome everyone to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Hello, everyone. It's such a joy to have you here today. And today we are live, of course, as you just heard, and we are broadcasting on the United Public Radio Network. And much thanks to them and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. And of course, if you're listening, you can listen on 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Please be sure and join us in the various chat rooms in order to connect with our guests today. You can find us all over social media, including SoundCloud. And if you're listening, please be sure and go to YouTube and subscribe to our guests' podcast and mine as well. And we'll have all the details on that. So today I'm super excited because we're going to be talking about a topic that is hugely important to human consciousness. On October 13th of 2025, an interstellar object called 3I Atlas, something that has traveled 26,000 light years just to reach our solar system, began flashing precise Fibonacci pulses towards Earth. So 5 flashes, 8 flashes, 13 flashes. And these are not just random bursts of ice. These numbers that exactly match the hidden orbital periods of planets were never taught to exist. In the last 12 months, 4 objects from outside the solar system have crossed our neighborhood, something that should statistically happen once every few 100,000 years. So think about that. And every single one of them is lining up with invisible planets predicted decades ago by a man. Sorry, that's Oliver, my little doggy. You know how loud they can be. By a man who says he's been receiving mathematical blueprints from his wife after she passed away and left this planet. Tonight, for the first time on this channel, I'm so excited to have David Sereda. He's a scientist, filmmaker, and a whistleblower who discovered NASA's own data showing these alignments. And there's so much more to uncover that he's uncovered since we last gave an update on this topic. And he's going to walk us through the evidence that many are calling the biggest story in human history. Some people will tell you that this could be the return of Nibiru. Others say it's a benevolent fleet returning to our solar system's frequency for our ascension. And a few insiders are warning that it's something else entirely. One thing is undeniable. The math is perfect. The images are public. And the countdown on the screen that I'm going to show you through David is real. So buckle up. What you're about to hear cannot be unheard. And by the end of this interview, you will never look at the night sky the same again. So let me welcome David. Thank you so much for joining us today, David.
Wow, thank you for having me, Carol Ann. Is that how you pronounce your name, Carol Ann?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I've always been looking for the truth. You know, as a kid, I grew up in Berkeley, California with 4, there's 4 of us, 4 boys. And our family was from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. We moved there in like 1964 about. And on my way home from school, when my dad was getting a Ph.D. in psychology, I saw a flying saucer and pandemonium on the streets. It was down low. There were hundreds of people looking up at this thing. It wasn't the Goodyear blimp. I built, model cars in those days with, glue. And I knew what everything was. I remember even building the Starship Enterprise. You get all the parts in a package and you make your own Starship Enterprise. So that disc lenticular shape in your mind. And the experience was followed by dreams of these very human looking Nordic ETs showing me the propulsion drive, They were from the Pleiades. They showed me the Pleiades holographically. They didn't name it. I'm sure they don't have the same name we have for it. And so when you have an experience like that as a kid, I was 7 or 8 years old. It's like, how do I go down the straight and narrow path? How do you, I mean, we're at the point today where there's been enough disclosure in this new film that's coming out today on
Mhm.
UAP UFOs with, a lot of government testimony. My film, Dan Aykroyd Unplugged on UFOs, just is on Amazon Prime now as a director's recut. A lot of people don't know
Mhm.
that. It's so clear that we should be spending money in the universities and giving grants to physicists, which we are, on this subject. In fact, Avi Loeb, the Harvard scientist and professor, has been the lead front person to the media on 3i Atlas, and he has gotten funding to hire other physicists, scientists to build a UFO UAP detection network where they
Mhm.
see things moving in the sky. They measure it against satellites, and Project Galileo, I think is what it's called. So they can determine whether it's a satellite or it's a known or an unknown. And so we're there already. And I think our last congressional hearing was like the 8th or 9th of October, which I watched the whole thing.
Yep.
We're already there. It's just that the mainstream public is still not awake
Absolutely.
on this subject. But understanding, like, when the UFO I saw as a kid, we watched it about 20 minutes, and maybe it's this big in the sky, way up there, at a distance, and it just does that. There's no acceleration and taking off. It's not hovering around. It's really locked on. Like, it's not wobbly. It's not drifting by. There's no
Mhm.
sound. It's just, it goes into another dimension. And I knew it was going into another dimension. And so when the idea I'm going to propose today, which comes from my wife, Crystal Menchaca Sereda, who I was married to for 13 years, who died on the 9th of August, 2021, sent me a mathematical algorithm that builds a model to show what only in all literature, the poet Dante, who wrote Paradiso, right here, Paradiso, shows what her model reveals, which is that we have 9 more planets of the enlightened angelic interspaced in the orbits between the orbits of the visible 9 planets, and that's counting the sun and not counting Pluto, below. So we have 9 below and 9 above. And I'm going to show you how that works, because in my work, in my life, even though I was trained in physics really as a junior, because I only did grade 11 and 12 physics, which is a lot. I know
Mhm.
a lot of mathematics because I continued it after, but I didn't want to go through the college university system and get peer reviewed, because I could see with my dad as a PhD,
Mhm.
it beat the hell out of any new idea you put on
Oh,
that table.
absolutely.
And I
Absolutely.
had to know the answer to the UFO. Okay, I had to know. I know they're not going to give me that answer. And so I'm studying. I studied everything. I read Tesla. I read Einstein. I read Stephen Hawking. I read Max Planck, Niels Bohr. I read all of them. I studied the serious particle physics. This is one of the first books I read out of high school. Decoding the Great Pyramid by mathematician Peter Lemaitre.
Yeah.
So believe me, I know mathematics, but the mathematics that eventually led to me understanding and studying ancient frequencies of ancient music scales, coming forward in time to the frequencies we use on a piano and a guitar for A,
Mhm.
B, C, D, E, F, G. Each of those strings and on a piano or a guitar are at a certain frequency, right? And frequency, I have discovered, has more effect on human consciousness and awakening than anything there is. than
Mm-hmm.
anything. In fact, if you follow the struggle to the birth of the first music scales in ancient history in Greece and Egypt, and even earlier in Sumeria and Babylonian times, you'll see that as frequencies emerge, people's consciousness suddenly evolve,
Yeah.
very suddenly. Because when you induce a frequency on a human nervous system, you become attuned to what that frequency opens up. So I developed a technology, firstly, for imprinting frequency into jewelry, pendants, which I can technically do into almost any piece of jewelry. This
Nice.
one is made of Aswan granite, which is the core masonry of the Great Pyramid, source mine, and it goes into a series of generators where it gets programmed with frequencies. And we did studies on the human aura at trade shows where people would run to the aura booth, get their picture taken, and then put one of these on and get their picture taken. And it was just way brighter, way more
Wow.
colors, more intense. So I became really interested in that because I wanted to know first, what do we use to generate frequencies for tuning? We use quartz crystal
Mm-hmm.
and what are called crystal oscillators. And I read a book called, I wonder if I have it. I have it right here. This is an incredible book. It's called Crystal Fire. And Crystal Fire is all about the birth of the information age, transistors, crystal oscillators, and tuners, and how everything is made out of crystals. So I saw the Great Pyramid of Egypt as a giant crystal. And I was able to calculate all of its frequencies from the base to the top, and I saw a pattern. I saw a lost music scale actually, and I tone tested this music scale against our modern music scale, and it was better, even more tonally harmonic than our current A B C D F G on the piano and the guitar. And I realized, okay, what would happen if I put those frequencies in my nervous system and those of others? So that's where I started. And then my mind started getting more and more attuned when I did these frequencies and I ran them through myself and I gave them to others and I exposed them to my children when they were in the womb. And then what happens? And the spiritual openings that people start to experience and my children started reported were so clearly above normal. So to improve the psychic ability of the mind and to open up the true third eye and the crown, I was in this dilemma from years and years and years, decades of meditating and doing yoga and doing breath techniques and doing chanting. And there was something missing. I was getting a lot of peace. I was getting a lot of cosmic presence. But this super bliss that the yogis talked about was still not happening after even a couple of decades of practice. But my wife, Crystal, was a jazz and a blues singer. And of course, singers do toning exercises when they warm their voice up. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So when you move your system tonally at precise, you don't just do do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do at any pitch you want. You do it at proper pitch. And so the pitch is given to you in the form of a piano, which is tuned to a specific frequency for each of those notes. And your voice starts to get perfect in those intervals. So when I started doing this with the pyramid scale, my meditation went to a whole new level. And the number of visions I started to have was incredible. And so that was noted. So when people see what I'm doing with Three Eye Atlas, they have to understand this, that how does my mind see this? It's because I'm trained like a piano. It was actually the ancient Greeks, and it's in this book here, Music of the Spheres by Jamie James, which is the music of the planets, that to the ancient Greeks and ancient religions of the world and cultures of the world, and how the early music scales were attuned to the rhythms of the planets in the solar system, that we eventually became out of tune, more and more out of tune. And with
Mm-hmm.
the advent of all these microwave towers, of which there are several 100,000 in the United States alone, inducing chaotic frequencies in our nervous systems, we're all completely out of whack
Oh, yeah.
unless we tune ourselves. Like imagine taking a violin. In fact, the Pythagoreans actually taught this. There's 3 levels of music. There's the musica humana is the human musical instrument. So our chakras are like a piano. So each one of our chakras responds to being in tune to specific frequencies. So like a piano, it goes out of tune when you play it a lot or when you
Sure.
expose it to chaos. So imagine all these people walking around are untuned instruments. And when you're an untuned instrument, it's so chaotic that eventually the nervous system starts to collapse and even break down. So my technology on my website is about retuning the person. And any person who does this, you become addicted to it because you realize you do one tuning session properly, you get to feel what being in tune is like versus not being in tune. Yeah, that's my website there. So we don't need to go through the whole thing now, but basically I have pendants, staffs, pendants, scepters. I have coil systems. I have wands to transmit, to
Wow.
calibrate the body. The simplest thing is wearing a tuned pendant. We don't do this with sound waves. This isn't done with sound waves. This is done with scalar and tachyon energy when these things are programmed. Yeah, that's one of my 49 pointed coils. And if you pair those with a stereo system, so your speakers in your house or in your studio, they start at about 40 hertz at the bottom end. So they miss the entire, almost the whole brain, because the delta part of the brain is like 0 to 4. The theta part of the brain is like 4 to almost 8. The alpha part of the brain is, it goes from there. In fact, it's all on my website. If you scroll down a bit, you can see the map of the human brain and where stereo speakers start, and keep going down. Let's see. I don't know if it's on the front page anymore. No, I don't even have it on the front page anymore. That's right. I got rid of it.
I have to say, I love these pendants.
Oh yeah, we've had those since we started those in Sedona. They're all made in Sedona, Arizona, and they get sent to me to be programmed. I can program anybody's piece of jewelry with any harmonic program they want.
How
So
does
what
it
happens is your
though?
nervous system
How does the jewelry maintain the frequency?
well, see, that's why when you read the book Crystal Fire and you understand how crystals vibrate at certain frequencies, the only way for them to memorize it is extremely you have to first open the electron shell gate, which is a first
Mhm.
proprietary step that I don't tell anybody how to do.
Yeah.
The second step, they go into a chamber where there's a scalar field, and in the scalar field I transmit. I actually have a video of this, of me treating them somewhere. And then they get programmed. One of the things that gave me the idea was this. It's really simple. There was a study done on clay pottery that was fired by Indians and dated. And the pottery, the crystals in the pottery, memorized the position of the north-south magnetic field of the Earth at that time. And because the magnetic field is drifting all the time,
Mhm.
researchers could see, oh my God, how did the crystals in the pottery memorize the magnetic field at the time of firing and then cooling down? Whereas the magnetic field has already changed since then, all over the place, because it drifts all the time. Whereas true north is fixed because it's
Right.
fixed to the pole star. So I went, wow, crystals can memorize magnetic fields. And I researched how that was happening in that process. And I realized I could put in any frequency in the magnetic field in an activated state and then a cooling down state. And
Let me
that's
ask
what
you this. Do you have to have them recharged periodically, or did they
well, I
stay?
just recently recharged mine. Like I have this incredible bracelet with an aquamarine
Wow.
because I have these new frequencies for the hyperdimensional solar system, which is what we're going to get into, which is the 9 levels of the angels. So
Mhm.
the 9 planets of the angels, which Dante sees, he actually sees them in his visions, and it's near the end of the Paradiso. So I just reprogrammed mine because I just discovered what the frequencies for each of those angelic positions are. And I can read this short point to you because at this point, Dante is right out about the orbit of Neptune. In the 14th century, when Dante wrote this, we didn't even discover Uranus and Neptune yet. We had only seen as far as Saturn. And in fact, in antiquity, most archaeoastronomers didn't know about Uranus and Neptune unless you go way back into ancient Egypt, and they did. But Dante is describing Neptune in its color, but he's not naming it. And this is where he is. And it says Dante turns from Beatrice, who it's a whole story. You have to know who Beatrice is. She's like my wife, she dies way before him. And she becomes his tour guide of the heavens in the afterlife. In fact, that's exactly what my wife Crystal would do. And I'm going to show you what she did. And so it shows him with Beatrice. She's already taken Dante through Earth to the moon, to Mercury, to the sun, to Venus, to Mars, to Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus and Neptune are not named, but he's describing them as blue greenish here, which is the color they are, but he doesn't know, which is showing us that Dante wasn't imagining this stuff. So Dante turns from Beatrice and beholds a vision of God as a non-dimensional point of light ringed by 9 more glowing spheres, planets represented by the angelic hierarchy. This is the abstract. Dante is puzzled because the vision seems to reverse the order of the universe, the highest rank of the angels being at the center, which means closest to the sun, from his perspective, represented by the smallest sphere, but it only looks smaller because of the distance. And then he goes into his experience here, and he's describing it. And Dante records these enormous increases in bliss, supernatural love, and ecstasy as he transitions with Beatrice from each level, going higher and higher and higher. And that includes the lower 9 familiar planets. It's a whole journey. So when he goes from Earth to the moon, the first paradise, there's so much bliss and love, and Beatrice is so bright, and she turns her gaze at an angle and gazes at the sun, towards the sun, because they're going to jump to Mercury. And when they jump to Mercury, he again, her radiance just engulfs him. It takes him a while to adjust to this increased level of supernatural ecstasy. And the descriptions in the Paradiso are so incredible because it shows you how we eradicate suffering in God, how we increase our frequency. And it takes a while to live at that higher frequency before Dante and Beatrice can take him to the next sphere, the sun, and so on to Venus, the third, and to keep going, right? So by the time he's at where Neptune is, he's so high in vibration. In fact, in my inner circle classes, my students are doing the frequencies. We spent a whole year on this, 1 month of frequencies for each of the planets in the lower 9. And then this year, we're about to start the 9 levels of frequencies for the angelic. And once you get to Neptune and you really understand it's the highest frequency, a human being has reached the perfection of enlightenment that the Buddha and the masters of the Far East describe. That they've reached perfection. Even though the bliss is increasing, they're still not perfect yet at Mars, which is right in the middle of the heavens. So by the time you get to Jupiter and Saturn, Saturn's the 7th heaven, you're extremely high. And I've actually been there. I actually had Jesus himself take me through these states. But Christ then took me through the upper angelic, where I heard the angels singing. This happened to me back in 1986. And those levels of bliss are for super level master souls who can withstand vibrations extremely, extremely high.
David, how did you get to that? Was it through meditation or using these vibration tools that you like? How did you get there?
Well, it's all of it. So I can't say if somebody just listened to the frequencies. You don't just listen to the frequencies. So the way this would work, if you go on my website in the front page, there's a link to take my simple course of the toning of the 9 levels of the angels. Now, when you listen with headphones, you have to do this with headphones. You start singing with your voice a vowel. So I'll make an A, E. So I'll say my vowel at the level and try and match the pitch. So beautiful when you do this, when you actually do the work. You start to feel this incredible resonance. And the day that I was recording these, which I just did last week, I went through all 9 levels at once, and I was just sitting here. I had gone through all the vowel tones. So the ancient Egyptians have a practice of 7 vowels. So they'll say A and then Ah. So A has 2. Ah, E, and Eh, which is in the Hebrew language, there's a lot of Eh movements of sound for the E vowel. And then I, O, and U. So you'll make, like, for example, in Ekankar, they chant Hugh. Hugh. But now I'm giving you the tone to guide you to be at correct pitch, just like the way a singer trains their voice. They don't just say do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. They say it at correct pitch. And the more you sweep through correct pitch, then you're really ready to chant a perfect holy name.
Gotcha.
Like if I say Abraham or Brahma, which is actually almost the inverse of Abraham, right? I can say Jesus's real name, as it was originally pronounced, is Isa. I can sing that with such resonance that what it does to your consciousness is so much more elevating if you're at these proper pitches versus just making it up or winging it, right? And if you wing it, like you just start chanting Om, because Om is an O vowel, right? Ending with an M, you might be able to feel your way through it. You might. And I did that for years. Believe me, I chanted Om for years and years and years. It's very peaceful. Yeah. But what happens to me now, when I meditate in the morning, of course, I'm 64. I've been doing this for 50 years. Every day. I don't miss a single day of meditation. And some days in my life, I was meditating 3 to 4 hours a day, sitting in the posture. Wow. Very hard work.
Yeah.
And I'm actually getting nowhere. because if you don't have the right instructions, see, meditation is not about blanking out the mind. This is the worst approach. If somebody's trying to teach you to blank out the mind, they don't know anything about it.
Yeah, that's what we're told.
No, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
You can't like freeze the mind and like strangle it like this.
Yeah.
Stop.
Very difficult.
You can't even approach it that way. You have to shift your awareness from the thinking mind to the feeling presence. So if I start meditating and I just don't think you're breathing, feel your breathing. So you start with breath, right? So just feel your breathing. You can feel it in parts of your body, like your chest or your belly, or the Buddhists work on the triangle between the nose and the upper lip. And that's a good place to start. But try and shift from thinking to feeling. And when you're pure feeling, you're not thinking. But don't sit there and go, am I not thinking? Like, are we there yet? Just feel. Just get into feeling. and even hold your hand up and try and feel the sensations in your hand. Just get in touch
Oh,
with
yeah,
feeling.
absolutely. I mean, you know what I do a lot that feels awesome? I like to feel the energy field between my hands because you can actually feel that. And it's just like a great way for me to connect to my consciousness that's like surrounding me.
That's a great exercise because if you can feel your field,
Mhm.
so as soon as you're feeling, if I take my hands like this, the closer they get together, just like you said, I can start to feel
Oh,
tingling,
yeah.
right? And that's kind of showing you like how big and sensitive your field is. And then when
Yep.
you get into really tuned fields that are frequency tuned, you're living in your field more than the end of the skin.
Yes,
And that's
absolutely.
when you start to sense, you become very empathic at that point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I love how Heidi uses her granddaughter as an example. I mean, even children are so much more in tune with their frequency than we are. She knew the magic of the word "om" at what, 5, Heidi? So it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, you can try um again, you can change the pitch in your voice. Another thing like with opera singers, because my wife was an opera singer, is you find where a person is naturally at. Are they a soprano, mezzo soprano? Is their voice way down? Where are they at their natural most, like where does their voice break up and where does it stay in tune?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's where how singers are placed in these different sections, in different pitches. And a really good singer might have like Whitney Houston, an
Oh,
incredible
you know, but
dynamic range, right?
I'm fascinated with your jewelry because I've never seen anyone, create something like that before. And, we're always looking for, like, the shortcut or, like, a empowering tool to help us because I meditate too, and you just like we've been told to quiet the lizard brain, quiet, and I don't try to do that anymore. I just let whatever happens happens. But
Let it go.
yeah,
Just slowly come to a center point. Here's the stages of meditation over
hmm
many years. This is many years, and what could be even decades. Is first, we don't actually have enough energy. We haven't awakened enough of the spiritual life force energies. In the
hmm
East, they call this Kundalini.
oh
Uh,
yeah,
the ideas of, for example, even ideas of celibacy, which is conserving sexual energy, is to force the Kundalini up the spine so it awakens the crown, right? But the problem is in the beginning, the central channel is so skinny. It's like a skinny piece of wire versus, so let's say this is my skinny wire and this is my fat wire,
hmm
right? And and this is my super fat wire. So as the idea is to open the chakras
right,
more than thinking that there's not enough energy and you have to conserve it. And Kundalini is constantly going up and down. It goes up and down. So you'll feel your heart sometimes. You'll feel communication. You'll feel inner vision. Most people's crowns, although all crowns are open, they're probably not bigger than a pinhole of a needle on most human
hmm
beings. And so it's really a matter of energy. So imagine this central cord is like a string, and the more you activate it and vibrate it, it widens, right?
mm,
And then the more it gets wider, it's like a river, more water flows through.
sure,
And so to open the crown, it's not so much about conserving energy. It's more about awakening through all of your different emotions and in your chakras. In fact, my dad, as a psychologist teaching meditation, focuses more on, in fact, the more you meditate, that you're going to open up more feelings and you're going to start having emotions come up and you're going to go, what is this? Why am I feeling all these emotions? I'm supposed to be calm. My guru said to be calm. No, no, no. You want to awaken as much energy and purify that energy
hmm
more and more and more. And that means from the base, the sex chakra, to the belly, which is our connection to the navel, which is life force energy. We were connected to our mother's womb and our father's energy through the navel, the adrenaline, the heart, communication, vision, and the crown. Now, when I meditate now, you see, I don't even have to focus on breath, because breath is energy. Frequency in physics is energy. The higher the frequency, the more energy there is.
Mm-hmm.
The higher the frequency, the more energy there is. So that means when you awaken yourself to higher frequencies, you will start to, instead of focusing, because you have an observer and observed in meditation. The observer is this infinite consciousness watching everything happening. So you watch a feeling arise and it
Right.
dissipates, goes away. You might even start crying and then goes away. So everything is arising, and you want to allow that energy to arise and open, arise and open. Let it all happen, because the channel is now going to get wider. But the person who becomes what you call anal retentive, who's trying to control everything,
Yes.
is like a rock. So if I'm the observer and I'm watching my breath like a rock, my consciousness might have these little moments of stillness where there's a spatial kind of awareness and peace, but that's still nothing. I've been doing this for 50 years. It's still nothing, because the observer and the observed are the same. So what you concentrate on, whether it's the breath or you concentrate on a spot or a chakra, they're the same. So eventually the observer goes from being a solid ego, like a rock, to becoming like water. And when you get to the point when you're like water, everything you look at is flowing. So everything, emotions are arising, thoughts are just extensions of emotions, and they're attached to the emotions. So we'll think about things that we're feeling or that we want to feel. Just let them arise and pass away. So just let the thoughts and the feelings arise and pass away. And the channel gets more open. This takes years. And then when the channel's really open, the observer is actually just energy. You're beyond water. You're like fire. Everything you see is just energy. And so you end up concentrating not on the breath anymore, and not on all the vicissitudes, the changeabilities, but just pure energy. So all you see is pure energy. And when you get to the point, this takes years, that you just see energy, you're not thinking much. Well, there might be a few little flutterings going by, and then that energy gets higher and higher in frequency. And then the crown really opens. And there is this, it's not just light that you see, there is tremendous ecstasy, love, peace, cosmic energy. And this ecstasy surpasses all pleasures. And I mean all pleasures. That means all sex pleasures, all food pleasures, all pleasures that money gives you, and travel. Like when I meditate and I'm in this state, I'd be happy with a stick and a robe. I don't need anything. I don't need anything, because the level of pleasure I'm experiencing, there's no trip to the Bahamas or Mexico. There's nothing. There's nothing that can compare to that. I can measure everything a human being can experience, from the best sex, which is probably the most intense pleasure, honestly, that a human being can experience. And I can measure that, which is very crude ecstasy. It's actually very crude by comparison. And this supernatural ecstasy is steady. It's not like an emotion that arises and passes away, or an orgasm arises and passes away. And all of those experiences are part of the meditation process. Wow. So the true process is not to extinguish falsely and say, no, I can't have sex, I'm going to be a celibate. No, I can't have this experience. It's to have the experiences and see them as energy. And then they're all about opening. And once more of the energy, so if I make a triangle from my chest to here, once most of my kundalini is up here and less of it is down here, the bliss increases. And the more you experience it, you go, well, this is better than anything. Oh my God, this is so good. I want more of this. In fact, I went to this this Buddhist retreat on Vancouver Island. It was 10 days of meditating 12 hours a day. In the end, I'm standing there with all the people, and there was this one young guy. He was a tree planter like I was. And he goes, I'm going to devote my whole life to this. I'm going to India. He was so high. He's so high. He's like, that's it. This is better than anything I've ever experienced. And once you have one of those super openings, in Japan, they call it Satori. In the yoga system, they call it Samadhi. You're hooked. You're like, okay, I can try everything. I can be a race car driver. I used to be a skydiver. I've jumped out of airplanes like almost, 280 times. I was an extreme skier when I was young, a mogul skier. I've done everything. And I can tell you the high, the quality of the God consciousness in this upper house, it's there's no question that it surpasses everything.
Do you take that with you all day after you meditate? And do you get downloads like of information while
Well,
you're meditating?
that's what's happening with Three Eye Atlas. So Three Eye Atlas is, I'm so tuned to it because your consciousness, like so when a human brain is in theta, so
Yeah.
our brain is producing delta, theta, alpha, beta, gamma all day long.
Mm-hmm.
The energy distribution in each one of those wavelengths, frequencies, increases during different times of the day, depending on what we're doing. The size of a human brainwave in theta, which is when we're dreaming in the rapid eye movement stage,
Right.
is the size of Earth. So that it literally is. It's the size of the Earth. So part of you is actually Gaia, is the size of Earth. And you can't separate the wave from the particle. The human body, the brain is the particle, and the wave. They're inseparable. If I kill the wave, I kill the body. We know this in quantum physics. The wave and the particle are the same. They're connected. They're one and the same. So you really are huge. The part of you is huge, and so therefore, we're actually living in this collective field all the time. When you wake up, those wavelengths get a little smaller, and delta waves get as big as the planet Jupiter and Saturn, for example. So we have this potential when we're tuned that when you reach high levels of meditation, and this is how remote viewing works, right? Because if you give somebody a blind target on the Earth, your wavelength goes around the Earth 7.5 times a second. So you can circumnavigate the globe with your consciousness, really. And if I give a person a frequency of Venus or Jupiter or one of Jupiter's moons, they will start to pull in inner vision data from that target. Now, if I focus enough on Three Eye Atlas, I'm going to start pulling data. I am. And so that's why I'm doing this.
Let me ask you this, because I've asked several people that have done some deep digging into Three Eye Atlas, and I get kind of different answers along the way. Some say that it's a celestial body and nothing more. Some say that it's a UAP, and there are draconian reptiles in stasis on board. Some say it's here for our cosmic enlightenment and so on. So what is Three Eye Atlas here for? What's the purpose?
Well,
Is
what
it
it's actually doing, I mean,
yeah.
we have real, scientifically measurable data. Is the first thing I noticed about it. The very first thing I did is because Three Eye Atlas means third interstellar physics.
Right.
Third interstellar is the three eye, right? Because before that it was 21 Borisov, and before that it was a Muamua.
Muamua, yeah.
So I measured on the dates for when each of the three were at perihelion, which is the date they reached the closest position to the sun. And when Three Eye Atlas reached the closest position to the sun, October 29th and 30th, that happened to be a recent birthday for the Prophet Muhammad. In fact, that's a very common birth date for him on their lunar calendar. That was very interesting to me. And then I measured Borisov and then Oumuamua. And then the ratio of all three was 1 to the golden ratio squared.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, oh my God. Avi
Yeah.
Loeb at Harvard, the lead astronomer, needs to know this, even though I can't get to him. He's very stubborn. He's not really, he doesn't look outside his own inner circle for any data. And
Yeah.
he doesn't know what that means. The golden ratio is everywhere in nature. It's what produces the Fibonacci spiral
Sure.
and the seashells and the galaxy. And that showed me intelligence and harmony. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to pull
Yeah.
up my calculator. I'm going to show you what
I mean, you did a YouTube video on it. Let me just share this because I really want folks to
Okay.
join your YouTube channel too, because it's incredible.
Yeah, every week we're getting new incredible data on 3i Atlas.
Yeah. Make sure that you go to it's just David Sereda, right? Your
Yeah.
YouTube.
Mhm.
So that's for folks listening, it's DavidSereda, and you can find him on YouTube, of course. And you also have a Medium blog, correct, David?
Yeah, it's my Medium blog is let me tell you the address is I can put it in the chat here.
Okay.
Yeah, I just posted. You really have to backtrack and read because my articles are all about the hyperdimensional solar system and where the the orbits of the planets of the angels actually are, and they periodically jump into our dimension. Let me put my Medium page there, and you can pull that up for a second. You can see it in the chat. And my Medium page is, these articles are really solid data on the hyperdimensional solar system. But I'll show you, if you pull that up, and then I'll show you what my wife did and how I got started in this. You see new images of 3i Atlas, stunning proposal, Mars high-rise image, the mystery of the blur. 3i Atlas, the great reveal. When I'm doing these videos, like on my channel, I'll pick an article and I'll walk people through it nice and slow so you can really get to know it. And if you scroll to the bottom, just keep, yeah, the great reveal. You scroll to the bottom. I start at the bottom and the articles are progressing. I mean, if somebody went through all these articles, you're going to see a whole different solar system. The hyperdimensional solar system by David Sereda, ChatGPT, the hyperdimensional solar system, David and Crystal Sereda. And that's what I'm going to start walking you through, because 3i Atlas is telling us the whole story. Yeah, they're telling us the whole story, because when I took 3i Atlas as the orbit, when we finally found it, it was discovered July 1st, 2025, which is Dan Aykroyd's birthday. And who is, you know, I did this film with him, and in my director's recut, Dan Aykroyd Unplugged on UFOs, I treat 3i Atlas. So I go back. Let me show you how it works. I'll do a share screen.
Yep.
And let me show you really quickly what 3i Atlas was doing in the beginning.
Okay.
So like Dante, I'm going to walk you through the planets. And share screen. So this is the first slide. So this is going back in time to last June 13th, 2024. In June 13th, 2023 is when it crossed the orbit of Neptune, which happens to be within the ascension day of Jesus. It's in the window of when his ascension, which is always 39 to 40 days after Easter in the Orthodox and the Catholic Western churches. So I thought that was interesting. And it gets way more amazing after that. So let me go back to what does this say? If I go to, how do I stop share? Yeah. So then the next planet is Uranus. The Greeks pronounce it Uranus. So that's how I pronounce it. So I'm going to go to, what was it doing when it crossed Uranus? This is coming on the way in. This is when it was coming in the very beginning, before we discovered it. And it crosses Uranus's orbit May 6th in 2032 is Jesus's ascension day again, but it's also Buddha's birthday, May 6th in 2014. So quite recently, remember, Jesus's ascension and Buddha's birthday are on lunar calendars. So that means I'm inside the window of dates that in the crossing of the planets are these high position religious dates. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep coming in, and every single planet it crosses is let me find the next one. I think is a religious date. And I thought, okay, this just can't. Let me see, I'm looking for my slides here on this. Every one of these dates that it's crossing is a religious date. So here we go.
Wow, that is so trippy.
Here is, let me see if I got the right slide here. Yeah, that's coming in. So I'm coming into Saturn, and on the way into Saturn, this is really incredible to see this. When it crossed Saturn on the way in, it was the 27th of January. Now that happened to be in 2025 to the year that in Islam they celebrate when Muhammad went through the 7 levels of heaven, which is marked by the position of the Dome on the Rock in Jerusalem, which is within the perimeter of Solomon's temple. And that's to the year, right? So again, that's remarkable. It's truly remarkable that this is occurring, and it keeps happening. So now I'm going to go to Jupiter. When was the Jupiter on this? Is because it crosses the planets twice. 3i Atlas is crossing them on the way in, and it's going to cross them on the way out. So I look at all those positions, and when it crosses Jupiter, it's June 13th, which again is an ascension date and Buddha's birth date. Buddha's birth date and Jesus' ascension on many years fall in the same window, which is, again, when I say remarkable, I don't just mean that as just being like incredible. It's truly a remark. It's a point in time, so that we have to note. So now I go to what's my next planet in order after Saturn, Jupiter. I'm going to come to Mars. This is really incredible.
Hi, Carrie.
So when we were at Mars, that's when the big moment of 3i Atlas, when it was supposed to be photographed, because it arrives at Mars on Yom Kippur, to the year on the lunar calendar.
Where is it now, David? Is it past Mars now?
Oh no, we're coming back to Mars right now today.
Okay.
We're coming today. Okay, so the fact that it's Yom Kippur, and this is when we were supposed to get the best images from the high-rise camera, is astounding. Is truly astounding. So this is what it does. It's showing us this perfect harmony to the most powerful religious states we have. And of course, for Christmas, in fact, what it does at Yom Kippur is incredible, because it forms this alignment between the Sun, Mercury, and one other comet, and Mars.
Okay.
And and what it's going to do at Christmas. So let's actually, the best way to do this is actually to go to my article on my Medium page, because I have all of these articles in a row. Actually, I should have done that because that's a lot easier than doing the way I'm doing it now. So let me find that article. And then we go through that. Then you're going to start to get an idea what it's actually doing.
Okay.
So that's probably better for me to go to the article because I don't have to keep jumping around like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, share screen, window. Here it is, proof of intelligence. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So in the article, we noted the going through these outer planet positions, Buddha's birthday, Jesus' ascension.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see where we are now. We are right here. It crossed, actually before Mars, it crossed the orbit of 16 Psyche, the most valuable asteroid in the solar system, worth countless quadrillions of dollars, on Mother Mary's Ascension Day, the 15th of August. And remember, the 15th of August is going back to I think it was 76, when Avi Loeb demonstrated that the big wow signal that we detected is the origin position of where Three Eye Atlas came from. The wow signal was on the 15th of August, which is Mother Mary's Ascension Day.
Yeah, and for folks that aren't familiar with that wow thing, the wow signal. So real quick, David, an astronomer or someone in the field discovered a signal and he wrote wow on a piece of paper where it was located, right?
Right. And the strength of the signal, but nobody noticed that that was Mother Mary's Ascension Day is the same day every year. It's the date of the wow signal, which is truly worth noting. So this is our Yom Kippur alignment when it reached Mars. And then this is what the alignment on Yom Kippur looked like.
Mm-hmm.
See, Three Eye Atlas, Mars, Mercury, and the Sun.
Yeah.
And this is what happened on the 13th of October when the signaling started. Remember, the 13th of October is the anniversary of the miracle of the sun at Fatima in Portugal in 1917, which is going to take people a while to learn all this, because the miracle of the sun at Fatima was one of the first recorded events in our history of one of these hyperdimensional planets popping into our dimension and blocking the sun, producing an eclipse, which everybody witnessed as the miracle of the sun at Fatima. I have all the mathematical proof of that. Now, this is where it gets amazing, because the bullseye of Three Eye Atlas is actually the planet that my wife called out to me from after she died, which is planet 591. So 591 means it takes 591 days to go around the sun. That's exactly where Three Eye Atlas was headed, exactly, and which is inside the orbit of Mars. And I detected the date to be October 23rd, 2025, when this intersection occurred. And using long string mathematics on ChatGPT, I asked ChatGPT to give me a hypothetical orbit of a planet orbiting the sun at 591 days. When would Three Eye Atlas intersect it? It was October 23rd. And that happens to be my daughter Awira's birthday.
Wow.
Which is also remarkable because my wife calls out my name audibly like an opera singer 591 days after she died, which is what gave me the signal to build the hyperdimensional solar system model. So why is Three Eye Atlas's bullseye 591? Nobody noticed because nobody knows what the 591 is. And I'm going to demonstrate that to you in a minute. So then Three Eye Atlas is perihelion, the 29th, 30th of October. Muhammad's birthday in 2022, which is recent, is October 29th. And Muhammad's birthday in 2020 was October 30th. So why was its perihelion, which means it's closest to the sun date, Muhammad's birthday? And then on the way out, it's closest to Earth, and the winter solstice, 21st of December, which is coming up, is its closest position to Earth. And this is what Avi Loeb's chart looks like. You see this blue line?
Yeah.
The blue line shows that in early December, about the 3rd of December, it's going to be holding and maintaining this position of being at its closest to Earth until the 25th, the top of the blue line, is Christmas. And on the 26th, you see it just jettisons away from holding that position. So this is a very powerful window of what 3i Atlas is going to do with Earth starting around the 3rd of December, which is getting really close.
Yeah.
How
are they able to predict that exact path that it's going to take?
It's all done with mathematics and computers. Once you know
computers, yeah.
and velocity. On Christmas Day, it will be at the angle of the slope angle of the Great Pyramid of Egypt to Earth. That's incredible. It's incredible. I did this. It's exact. I did this with the help from a guy in Australia because he kind of tipped me off to it. And so I did the calculations. This purple line here is its trajectory angle. So why is it going to be at Great Pyramid angle to Earth at Christmas? And then when it keeps going out, it's going to cross Psyche 16 again on Orthodox Christmas, which is the Eastern Bloc Christmas, which is January 7 and 8. Perfect. These are perfect matches. And then it's going to cross. Now, Jupiter is another big moment because Avi Loeb at Harvard is saying it will be so close to Jupiter. You have to understand the odds of this happening are over over 1.3 trillion to 1. That in the long, just under 12-year orbit of Jupiter, why is Atlas so close to Jupiter? You can see it on my map here. And the date that it reaches its closest position to Jupiter, March 16th, 2026, is Islam's Night of Power for 2026, marking when the angel Gabriel appeared to the Prophet Muhammad and started reciting the verses of the Quran. This can't be an accident. Like, if this thing is so perfectly timed, so tuned, and then it will cross Jupiter's orbit days later, which again will be March 25th, 2026, which are Easter dates in 1894, 1951, 2046. So we're in the Easter window when it crosses Jupiter's orbit, and then it will cross Saturn on the 19th and 22nd of July in 2026, is Sirius Helical rising in Egypt, which is the New Year's Day in Egypt, marked by the rising of the star Sirius paired with our sun. That's how they marked their New Year in ancient Egypt. So this is the goddess Isis. And Mary Magdalene's feast day is fixed every year the same day, July 22nd. So we're right there. So this is relatively right now just a beginner's class on 3i Atlas. We're seeing how perfectly the harmonies are to the religious marker dates. It's demonstrating that those dates have to do with the harmony of the order of the astrology of the solar system. That's what those dates mean.
It almost seems to like touch upon the three major religions, which is the Muslim faith, the Catholics, and the Jews, right? And it's almost seemed like a unification of all three in some way.
And it's going to do that in its most remarkable episode yet, which is occurring right now, which is actually proving. In fact, I have a whole article on this because I can jump forward in time to. It's called what I call the Great Reveal, and this is my article and my episode on the Great Reveal. And this part of what 3i Atlas is doing is going to prove that the three great religions of the world are all pointing to the Great Pyramid, including the birth of Christ. So
wow,
get ready for this, because this is really
mind-blowing.
Going to be difficult for the Christian world. Do you see this article, 3i Atlas, the Great Reveal?
Yeah, I read that.
So this jet angle that it's emitting, I can see angles, and I know the angle that I'm looking at without using my protractor, but I use my protractor anyway. So this came out. In fact, there's this image came out. I put my protractor over the image in Photoshop. And you see these black lines on the protractor. I have to tilt my protractor until my black line is parallel to the jet to adjust between the camera. So I'm actually at what's called, 90 degrees to my forward view.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do that, my angle of the jet is 26.3 degrees. And at a distance, you can, way out here where my cursor is, at a huge distance away from 3i Atlas, that spans 26 to 32 degrees. But the initial jet is at 26.3 degrees. The rotation period of 3i Atlas in minutes is 969 minutes, which is rotating every 969 minutes, which is the age of the biblical Methuselah, the oldest man in the Bible. I have a whole article on this. It's going to get really advanced. So what this means is the fact that the jet is at 26.3 degrees is the slope angle of the Great Pyramid's interior descending and ascending passages, which are in alignment with the North Pole Star and the position of the South Pole Star, but it's actually above the South Pole Star. But this gets really, really complicated in physics, because these angles are pointing to two solar systems,
right?
So, which are right on top of each other. So if I go to the Great Pyramid of Egypt and I use a website called suncalc.net, I can put in the dates for the rising and setting sun at Giza, and I can see that on Christmas, December 22nd to the 25th, which is winter solstice. That's what Christmas is. It's 3 days after the winter solstice.
Yeah. Yep.
The sun rises at 26 degrees, 0.3 to the south and sets at 26.3 degrees to the southwest. So it rises in the southeast and sets in the southwest at the angle of the jet of 3i Atlas. Now, in the summer solstice, from the Great Pyramid, 26.3 degrees, runs right through Jerusalem and Bethlehem and all of the temples. Is the position of the rising sun June 22nd, and it sets at 26.3 degrees to the west. This gets really incredible. So why is 3i Atlas giving us a jet at this angle? It's trying to tell us something. Now, what gets more amazing, and this was the work of, let me just scroll down here, of Peter Lemaitre, who wrote The Great Pyramid Decoded. It's actually in my previous article. That he found that at summer solstice, a shadow was cast at noon on top of the Great Pyramid running right through Bethlehem, which is at 26.3 degrees. The same angle as the jet on 3i Atlas. I extended the angle and it runs right through the baptism site of Christ at the River Jordan. So that means at this angle, there's something mysteriously happening that's rising in the east and setting in the west. But at Christmas time, at that angle, the sun is down here, not up here. It's only up here at summer solstice at that angle. So when I overlap the two of them on top of each other, guess what happens? 26 by 26 degrees is 52 degrees. That's the overall angle of the Great Pyramid slope angle, 51.853972. So why is 3i Atlas doing this? Because the more you start to look at this, the odds of this happening for 3i Atlas are actually mathematically countless, over 1.5 trillion to 1, that it could even be doing this. And what I found is, again, because it's going to be a Great Pyramid angle to Earth on Christmas Day, which is 3 days after the solstice, we have a message that something incredibly profound is in our midst. And this can't be dark reptilians. It just simply can't be. So when I measure, this is a total incredible new measurement and new discovery. If I put my sun calculator at Bethlehem, the birthplace of Christ, on Christmas Day, the sun sets at the Great Pyramid. This orange line here. The top of the orange line is the Church of the Nativity. You see? So it rises in the southeast, but sets at Cairo, and it actually mathematically runs right through the Great Pyramid of Egypt, which connects the birthplace of Christ and the setting sun on Christmas Day to Jesus, to Egypt.
So what's going to happen to
You see
us?
what's going on? Hang on a
Yeah,
second, because this is
absolutely.
Missouri's original Bethlehem angle he discovered in the 70s in his book. And
Mhm.
now I'm showing you the sunset on Christmas Day, and it's been doing this for thousands of years, and nobody has noticed. Because why do I know this? Because 3i Atlas, I've been tuning myself to it repeatedly, and it's telling me what to do and where to look.
Wow.
So that's the part 2 of the great reveal is coming up, and believe me, part 2 is so stunning. But there's way more to this, way more to this. I have to tell you that. Okay, so let me go down
Yeah, I mean,
to,
Carrie even said everything is so mathematical, but you don't need to really understand the mathematics. You just
no.
need to know the destination points, right? Like what it's signaling to us in terms of its coordinates, right?
Well, what it's signaling to us, and to give you the answer of what it's going to do, I'm going to go to a huge project I have on Google Earth. It's called my
Okay.
Angles Project. And for people who don't know what the miracle of the sun at Fatima was, you're going to have to watch the movie Fatima, because in 1917, the Mother Mary appears to 3 small children in a village in Portugal
Mm-hmm.
called
I know the
Fatima
story.
on the 13th of May, 1917. And she appears on the 13th of the month every month to prepare them for what is going to be a solar eclipse of a planet that we don't know about in our solar system. And the position of that eclipse will be aligned to the village of Fatima, Portugal, on the 13th of October in 1917, which produces this spectacular event. So can you see my angles project here?
Yep.
Okay, so we know from what I just showed you that 3i Atlas gave us the 26-degree angle in the jet. And my center point here is the Great Pyramid of Egypt. So I'll just zoom all
Mm-hmm.
the way in so people can see where I'm starting. See, I have
Yep.
all these angles coming out of the pyramid, and they all mean something, but I'm just going to show you 26 degrees. So 26 degrees to the east runs right through Jesus's birth site and also his baptism site,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's pointing to really what is the Star of Bethlehem. And the true Star of Bethlehem is not Jupiter. And that's because Jupiter isn't up here in December 25th. And so this whatever this Star of Bethlehem is, it's going to set at its equal and opposite angle to the west. So I'm going to
Right.
follow to the west. Where does 26.3 degrees run through? Fatima, Portugal, where the miracle of the sun occurred.
Wow.
You
That's
see?
no coincidence. That's
Now it's
crazy.
going to get more amazing than that, because when we look at my wife's model that she gave me, this planet should have an orbit of 139 to 141 days around the sun, according to her model. And guess what? This is incredible, because so these aren't Earth coordinates. These are ground coordinates to a planet rising and setting at this angle. And of course, it's the sun is in alignment with it. But on the 13th of October, the sun is not at 26 degrees to the west. It doesn't set at
Mhm.
26 degrees to the west. So this planet is creating a shadow on the ground, which is creating an eclipse to the observers below, which is the true Star of Bethlehem, which is a hyperdimensional planet, which is one of the 9 heaven planets in the solar system that we have not been able to see, but they periodically throughout history suddenly miraculously just appear.
Are these planets in like a multiverse, David? Do they exist in a different dimension?
They do, but they over in cycles of time, and I'm going to show you a map of them,
Mhm. Yes,
based on my
Carrie.
wife's model, remember, the bullseye of 591 is, here it is, right here. It's this is the model here. When you see the model, it's all going to make sense.
Okay.
So the model shows that the dates of for example, the miracle of the sun at Fatima coincide perfectly to the model. So I'll show you how it works. So we go here. Here's the model. And I built this model like a couple of years ago. You see, my wife calls out my name at 591 days, and she tells me that it's 1 to the golden ratio. And so 1 to the golden ratio means if I go on my calculator, 591 divided by 1.61803398887, which is the golden ratio, and I do that repeatedly, the first calculation gives me 365.25, which is the orbit of Earth. That's incredible. Divided by the golden ratio again, I get the orbit of Venus. Divided by the golden ratio again, I get this number, 139.51. And this is the planet that caused the miracle of the sun. It lines up with Jesus's Ascension Day and Buddha's birthday. And actually even St. Francis's Ascension Day.
Did you discover this, David, or is this something that's like known in the community?
Nobody knows this. So Dante knew there were 9 planets of the angels, but he doesn't know where they are. He doesn't know their orbits, right? He doesn't know. I'm going to show you a website right now where I do a simple calculation of dates. And this is really the proof. So you saw my planet 139. I mean, it takes a long time to really get good at this, but watch this. Okay, so
do you have these charts on your blog so we could go look at them again?
Oh yeah, people can study them. They can take classes with me. People can also, take my classes to do the frequencies we're talking about.
Okay.
So look at this. So are you seeing this website? It's called
here it is.
Add or Subtract Days.
Oh, cool.
You see it?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the date of the first date of the miracle of the sun, which is May the 13th. So the Mother Mary appeared to the 3 children on May 13th, and the year was 1917. So I'm going to subtract 139 days. Watch what happens.
Now, wait, why 139? Is
That's
that
the number of days it takes planet 139 to go around the sun?
December 20. Oh my God.
Do you see what's happening?
That's crazy.
That's crazy. That's the proof. Now I'm going to go to the date of the miracle of the sun itself. Okay, the miracle of the sun itself is October.
So nobody else discovered this? Like you were the first person to really...
I'm the only one who knows, because my wife, this is proof of our afterlife. This should mean something for every human being alive. My wife gave me a number that is 1 to the golden ratio to Earth and builds this whole model and solves the riddle of the miracle of the sun at Fatima. My God, the Catholic Church could be knocking at my door, and they don't.
It's mind-blowing. For folks that didn't hear earlier, David's wife passed away almost 4 years. 4 years in August, right, David?
Yeah.
And she's been communicating with him with these downloads of information. Now, what website is that again, David, that we're looking at? A date calculator?
It's easysurf.cc. It's for a date calculator.
Okay.
Right. So now what I'm going to do is go to the miracle of the sun at Fatima, October 3rd, and I'm going to subtract 2 orbits of 130. It's actually 139.5. So that's 139.5 is 279. So I'm going to subtract 279 days, which is 2 orbits of 139.51 from the actual miracle of the sun. And look at this date. That's Orthodox Christmas.
Oh my God, it is.
So I've got double confirmation on this, double on both Christmas dates.
Yeah.
So why is this happening? And why is 3i Atlas pointing the way to the hyperdimensional solar system? Because remember, the bullseye of 3i Atlas is 591. So I'm going to pull up my calculator, because you got to see this on a calculator. This is really, really simple math. I mean, God, my daughter's doing math in school right now that's way harder than what I'm going to do.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
just going to use the golden ratio as an algorithm. So,
Are you going to tell us what this is going to mean for human consciousness? What you think it's going to mean
well, what
for
it's
us?
going to mean is I've had this problem my whole life that, I saw the UFO. Where are they coming from? Why are they telling us there's no life on Venus, no life on Mercury, no life on Jupiter, no life on Saturn, no life on Pluto, no life on Neptune? So we're really alone. And when you understand how close the orbits of these upper 9 planets are,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to realize they're right next to us. So 591. So this is the number of days. You see my
Oh, let
calculator
me
right
get that
now?
up there. Hold on.
You
There
see
we
my
go.
calculator? Okay.
Yep.
So I'm just going to divide it by the golden ratio, and I'm going to keep doing it. So I divide it. This is the number of days after my wife died that she called out my name. And 3i Atlas's bullseye is heading towards an orbit of 591, which it already reached on the 23rd of October. Okay. And I'm just going to divide it once. That's the exact orbit of Earth, people. That's the exact orbit of
That's
Earth.
crazy.
I'm going to do it again. I'm going to repeat it. That's Venus accurate to 99%. Because Venus takes 225 days to go around the sun. I'm going to do it again, and this is my planet that solves the miracle of the sun at Fatima. Right there it is. And I'm going to do it again, and that's Mercury. That's Mercury like 98%. And after that, the mathematical problem just gets more and more astounding, because we have periods of study in astronomy where we've had these planets appear and disappear, and we thought it was a mistake in our telescopes. And one of them was planet Vulcan, which was discovered in the 19th century
Yeah.
at the Paris Observatory by an astronomer named Leverrier, and they saw it. They knew it wasn't a sunspot, and it vanished. So they called it a hypothetical planet. They didn't know what the heck they were seeing, and they verified it at a telescope in Colorado, but
Mm.
they still didn't understand how a planet appeared and disappeared. You see, and
So this
now
planet is a part of the multi-dimensional 9 planets that you were talking about earlier.
yeah, planet Vulcan has an orbit of 20 days, and if I take 591 to the golden ratio, I'll hit 20.
Is that where the Star Trek Vulcan came from?
That's right. That's
Jeez
it.
Louise.
Spock and planet Vulcan. So what's
Crazy.
happening, Caroline, is that it's getting deeper and deeper and deeper what 3i Atlas is doing. And my new biggest reveal, which is coming, I mean, it's already up as an article on my blog at Medium, but it needs a lot of explanation, because Atlas did something last night and Avi Loeb posted it. And
Mm.
it's so shocking if this is proven to be true. And it looks like it is, because I had to do a lot of mathematical arguing on this
Mhm.
photograph that got
Mhm.
posted. We are in for a whole new solar system. Just the fact that these angelic planets are there. So we have one at 591 inside the orbit of Mars, and then we have another one inside between Mercury and Venus, which is where 591 is. I mean, sorry, 139 is, which is the miracle of the sun at Fatima. Remember, that one sets at 26 degrees to the west, and 26 degrees to the east is where Jesus was born and where the Star of Bethlehem appeared. So we know that the Star of Bethlehem was actually this planet. I should write a whole book on just the Star of Bethlehem.
Yeah.
And I have a book coming out on a website called davidseredawrites.com, which is about 7 visions of Christ I received, actually met him and saw him and spoke with him. It's a rewrite on that book. That's, if you just go to davidseredawrites.com, you'll see 2 books there. I've got so much to tell. I mean, you can't just kind of do a crash course at it in an hour and a half, but
Oh, I got it. Hold on, let me share it.
yeah, people can pre-order that book now, which is called Visions. It should be, there it is. If you scroll down, you'll see the books. There's 2 books. And
On a nice site.
yeah,
Oh, nice.
Lisa's little secret and visions conversations with Jesus. I mean, this really happened. My wife co-authored this with me because I
Oh,
added the hyperdimensional solar system to this.
see, I have to read this book.
I've had visions of Christ. I mean, these are real, but blinding visions where there's so much love coming from Christ. I'm actually crying my eyes out like a kid at his feet. You can barely withstand the amount of love that is radiating from him, and
Now,
he's
are you saying Christ consciousness or actual
no,
Christ?
I actually met him. I know a lot of people will find that hard to believe, but when you read this book, there's so much proof in there that I really did meet him, because I later found the dates that he appeared to me are perfect
Mhm.
harmonics in the model that I just shared today. They're perfectly timed.
How did you meet him, David? Was it through meditation? Were you in a trance? Were you
Well, the first time
astral
I met him,
projection?
let's see, I went tree planting that year in Canada, and the government stole all my earnings out of my bank account. Um,
What?
they never explained to me why they did it, which is about $35,000. And
What?
I was so exhausted, I pitched a tent on my father's property, which was 3 acres in Topanga, California. And I was so exhausted, no money, and I didn't know what I was going to do. He didn't have any room in the house for me. And a rainstorm came. I was pitched right next to the horses. He's married to, he's not, he wasn't, he broke up with my mom way back in the 60s. So he had a new wife. And I was sleeping next to the horse corral. It's kind of funny when I look back at it. And a rainstorm came. It was October the 19th and of 1994. And I started to freeze to death because I was sleeping in about, a foot of water.
Oh my
And
goodness.
instead of going in the house and getting warm, I said, I've just had it. I said, I've just had it. I've had so much bad luck. I just want to die. I said, God, just take me. And I literally separated from my body,
Mm,
and I went above the oak trees in Topanga. And the house was right above the Inn of the Seventh Ray. For people who know Topanga, this is a pretty cool story. I mean, the Inn of the Seventh Ray is on the hillside. And this house is on Topanga School Road. And I'm floating. I see this oak tree in the dark. It's pouring rain. There's a crucifix made of granite, and it's humming like the monolith in the movie 2000. I hear the voices of angels, and there's a baptismal pool beneath it. I had already been baptized as a kid, right? I had already
mm.
been baptized, but I was more of a Buddhist meditator at this point in my life, and I'm meditating every day. I've been meditating since I was 14. I'm 64, and so I immediately know that the water is telling me to be baptized, and I put my hands out in the shape of the cross, and I fall into the pool of water, and instantly I'm carried above the rain clouds. I know I'm dead, and I'm like, oh my God, you're dead, David. You died. I'm only 33 years old. I was 33 years old,
Wow.
which is the number of years that Christ lived on earth.
That's right.
And I don't know what's going to happen, but millions of little balls of light start to gather around, and then they
Mhm.
rush together, made a deafening sound, like a powerful sound, and materialized the body of Christ in front of me, shining. He's 10,000 times brighter than our sun. And in the light is more love and ecstasy and power and beauty, qualities that we don't have names for. Instantly humbled, fell at his feet. I couldn't look at the light coming from his face.
Mhm.
And I'm just crying my eyes out, and I'm holding his feet. And the first thing he said to me is, I have appeared to a number of people throughout history, but at different levels of their vibration.
Mhm.
He said, no one ever sees me in my entirety. Even his apostles did not see him in his entirety. And he said, even now, what you're seeing is not my entirety. And I was humbled and I would look at his face and, oh my God, you can't look. It's too powerful. He's too powerful. Look down, look down. Only look at his, and then I look at his face. Oh my God, he's too beautiful. It's so humbling, because we think we can handle the amount of love coming from Christ, we can handle a smidgen of it.
Yeah, I can believe that.
You're humbled by the amount of love. It's what brings you to your knees. And then he started teaching me. And so that marked the first visitation. And I came in the house and I told my dad I was super happy. I was soaking wet in my tent. All my briefcase and all my papers were floating in the water. I never got sick. And I just started writing. I just started writing everything he told me, which is all in the book.
So did you have an NDE, or you said you died, but you obviously came back.
I came back and I didn't get sick. I mean, of course, he has the power to do anything. He has the power to do anything.
Right.
So the power to bring me back and to revive my body. Yes, I think that was an NDE. There's no medical file. So, and I don't really care about proving
labeling it. Yeah.
Because he kept appearing and he kept appearing on specific dates. And in fact, he appeared October 19th, 2024, which is I'm going to show you because I'm going to go to my calculator again, and then I'll have to get going soon because
I know you have to check on your daughter.
I have my daughter inside. So let me show you this. So let's go back to our calculator.
Oh no, wrong. Hold on.
I'm just going to get it's not my calculator. It's this website. So. Okay, this actually happened before 3i Atlas. I mean, I testify that this is really true. If I'm a liar, strike me with lightning. Okay, so on the 19th of October, which is really close to the miracle of the sun at Fatima, which actually drifts over time. Okay, so Jesus' voice, I didn't see him. This was, not this October, but the previous. So before, no, it's not 1994. No, it's because that's the year I met him. It's 2024. 2024. And Jesus tells me to do this calculation when I get up. He said, take today's date and add 432 days, because 432 is a perfect harmonic musical A note frequency. A lot of people know 432. So I'm just going to do it. I woke up and I went to this website. It came to Christmas 2025, which is this Christmas.
That's
which is
crazy.
when 3i Atlas will be at its closest to Earth.
Before you go, what is the purpose of its mission to our human consciousness? Like, I'm mind blown at all this, but what's it going to do for us?
We should do another show. So
can we please? I was just going to ask you that.
Because look at this. I heard this voice. I posted this when it happened on Facebook. I can go back to October 2024 and I can prove that I actually posted this calculation. And then he told me, then when I subtract 432 days, this is Mother Mary's Day of Ascension within one day, August 14th. Her Day of Ascension is the 15th.
Now, 432, is that the hertz that we're supposed to be listening to music in?
That's a perfect A note instead of 440. But why starting on October 19th? I hear his voice and I go backwards 432 days and I come within one day of the Ascension of Mother Mary. And I click forward 432 days and I come to Christmas of this year. It's like a prophecy.
All of this data cannot be a coincidence. Everything that you showed us today, it's impossible for all this calculations and data to be a coincidence.
I know, and that's why I urge people to read my book. Go to davidseredawrites.com. Read it, because what we're doing today is like a crash course. It's like day one, and I have so much data to share to prove. The 3i Atlas is demonstrating, at the very least, it's pointing out the harmony of the order of the 9 visible planets, counting the sun. And I would call all of that the inner solar system. And it's showing us the actual orbits of the planets of the angels. And when you know the orbits of the planets of the angels, my God, you should see what I can do with it. You should see what I can do with it.
David, which book should we start with?
Well, Mona Lisa's Secret is available now, and that has part of the whole secret in it.
Wow, you
But,
wrote a lot of books, dude.
but visions, conversations with Jesus is
Yeah.
going to be. It's already finished. The book is done, so people can pre-order it. If it says add to cart, then you should be able to order it. So it's a great.
So
It'll be a great Christmas read for people if they order it now.
It'll be what? Say that again.
A good Christmas
Yeah.
read.
Yeah. Well,
But
I know
with
you
that,
got.
you know, I think we need to do a part 2 because
I was just going to say that.
we're just getting warmed up, and I have to get on with my day. And I'm so grateful to share with your people and your listeners this.
Oh my goodness, we loved it. This is mind blowing. Next conversation, maybe you could get more into in detail of what that means for humanity.
Well, I think the veil is. I've got so much to share with you because these angelic planets, at certain dates that 3i Atlas is crossing the orbits with the frequency work I'm doing, there have been more than 2 of us. I actually woke up in the middle of the night and I thought I saw a bright light coming into my sleeping cabin. I was sleeping in my guest cabin, which is separate from the main house because grandma was watching my kids. And I think the sun's coming in the room, and I get up and it's still nighttime, and I check and 3i Atlas is below the horizon. I'm like, where's this light coming from? And I go back to bed. I float out of my body, and there's a glowing planet right up in the sky at this angle. And it turns out I go back to bed and I look and I check it. It's in the position on my chart of the planet of the angels, which is the first planet of the angels, which is our personal angels. It's right there. And I'm like, I'm actually seeing it. And then I get a call from someone I haven't spoken to in years, and she lives just south of me in the state of Washington. The same morning, which was October 5th, that we just this past October 5th, she saw the same thing. But she woke up at the same time I did and went outside with her eyes open and actually saw it.
Wow, that's crazy.
Which means the veil.
Yeah,
we're going to start getting interactions with these upper angelic planets. In other religions, they are known. The ancient Egyptians knew them, and we'll get into that in our next meeting. So
okay, I will be in touch. I will email you. I'll be in touch to set up a date because we definitely need a part 2 and maybe 3.
And maybe
crazy.
3. So
yeah.
Let's do
right,
that.
David.
And of course, people can watch the replay, so you can go deeper.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, David. I will be in touch soon, dear friend.
Okay, Caroline. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear. Bye-bye. Well, thank you, everyone, so much. It was absolutely incredible. I know it's a lot, and I know, it may seem a lot of mathy stuff, but if you look beyond that, you can see the bigger picture. So, like, don't fret, because a lot of people do, including myself, about the math of it all. It's more the correlations of dates and sequences, as you saw, and you could always watch the replay because 3i Atlas is here for a reason. I fully believe that maybe it's going to do what David said and give us a whole new solar system, a whole new galaxy. You can run the numbers yourself if you're a mathy person, but math doesn't lie, and the countdown doesn't pause at disbelief either. So thank you so much again, David, for trusting this platform and the evidence that most people really aren't ready to face. And the stars are sending us a message in its perfect silence. And now maybe it's our turn to answer. So please be sure and check out David's website and give Ethereal Encounters Unveiled on YouTube a subscribe and a like. It means the world to me when you do, as well as to the algorithm. Big shout out, of course, to United Public Radio. I love them dearly. And please help support, like all you guys do, Heidi and Carrie and everybody in the chat. we appreciate and love you dearly. So thank you all so much again, and I will see you next Wednesday for another live. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday live. Oh no, it's Thanksgiving. So Thursday there will be a replay, and you will not want to miss it. So after your dinner's done and you're done, if you're in the States and you're done stuffing yourself, definitely check it out. Of course, you'll find links all over my social media and all over United Public Radio social media. So thank you. Love you guys. Yes, Heidi, UPRN, you are such a big supporter. So much gratitude to you all. Love you all dearly. See you soon. God bless. Stay well.